Welcome to For the Health of It. I'm your host, Corian K. Paget, and this is your number one source for all things sports, health, and fitness related.
Oh, hold on, Coach. What does For the Health of It stand for?
Good question, Austin. The four and For the Health of It stands for our four principles, which are mindset, movement, nutrition, and recovery.
Okay, cool. Let's do it for the health of it then.
Man, 2021 has been a crazy, hectic year. For the Health of It was nominated for two award shows, the Black Podcasting Awards and the People Choice Awards for podcasts. So, as you may be able to tell by that earlier sound, I am now a proud father to a new, beautiful baby girl. And that put a little, change in the plans. At the start of this year, I was planning on releasing a new episode every week. But being a new parent, uh, it's different. it definitely put a halt to those plans. But I appreciate each and every one of you for listening to this show. Thank you so much. And now, without further ado, let's get into this new episode. Welcome to another edition of For the Health of It. I'm your host, Corian K. Paget, and today I have with me Heather Sutherland. Heather, how are you doing?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So, Heather, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a certified personal trainer. I've been training for 10 years. I started my journey working at a corporate gym in Lancaster, California. I left there for a year to travel and live on a cruise ship, travel, and I lived in Canada for a little bit as well, where I studied under Innovative Fitness, which is this amazing gym in Vancouver. At the time when I was there, I want to say 7 years ago, I think, 6 years ago, they had like maybe 2 or 3 locations. Now they're up to 12. So they're doing big things. When I got back out here, I started teaching. I was in education for a while.
Nice.
Still training after school and all that stuff. And then 3 years ago this year, I decided to give training just my full attention, because I just didn't want to wake up one day and just be like, I wonder what if, because when I was teaching, I just kept on feeling a pull, like I felt like something was missing. So I definitely went to back into training. And since then, I've, worked with major brands like Nike and Jordan. They sent me as an athletic influencer, fitness influencer in the community to All-Star Weekend last week, where I met a bunch of amazing people, made some amazing connections. But like through my years of being an athlete, I've just been really trying to figure out a way to like find my niche in the market of personal training. There's so many different avenues. And that's when I discovered at the IDEA convention, I discovered the whole training the female athlete through her cycle. And so I really dove into that. And so I've been developing a training calendar for my female clients, where they tell me their cycle dates, and I tell them what it is that they are going to be feeling and experience what their body is going through and what type of workouts they should be doing. And so that's what I've been honing in on for the past, I want to say, year and a half. I haven't mastered it yet. I definitely want to, continue my research, because I'm not, obviously I'm not a doctor, but, I can do research because I have eyes and I have a brain.
Right.
So I've been doing that. I started a nonprofit called Apples to Apples Foundation, where my ultimate goal is to bring wellness to the workplace for our frontline and essential workers. And I'm talking specifically about educators and nurses and doctors. Basically, give them an opportunity to take care of their health and wellness while at work. And so I want to pitch it to employers so they can have it, they offer it as an incentive for working for the company. Like, we have on-site wellness, but that came about when I was actually working, and I saw all of my teachers, like everybody gained weight except for me. I mean, I gained a little bit, but I was training. So that definitely inspired me to want to take health to the workplace. So Apples to Apples Foundation, I also hosted the Los Angeles Fitness Festival, where Yeah, it was really amazing. It was like a outdoor music festival and fitness combined. So think Coachella meets like a group fitness class. So we had live performances. We had uh, oh, I'm drawing a blank. We had courses, workshops. There we go. We had workshops where we had professionals come and talk about nutrition, the importance of like obesity and tackling childhood obesity. We had vendors. It was just amazing. Last year we were trying to do it again, but obviously,
Cool. Right.
this year hopefully, things slow down enough with this vaccine and everything, and I'm able to host it again in September. So fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. Good luck on that too, man. You're doing a lot, man. It's something about people in California, man. Y'all are some go getters for real.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's just it's the energy, that whole like people don't realize how much weather plays a part into how you feel.
Facts.
And so we have beautiful weather. Like today, I know I told you I was, battling the vid.
Right.
So I went outside and just got some sun and like tried to get charged up. That stuff really does make you feel better.
Right. Definitely. Something about that, the sunlight getting that vitamin D in you, You mentioned with your Apples to Apples Foundation that you wanna bring fitness to the front line, and you said teachers, doctors, nurses. One thing that always kind of, I don't want to say it bugs me, but it made me think like doctors are like, and physicians are supposed to be like at the top of the health and wellness field, right? So a lot of them are not healthy people. You ever notice that?
But so here's the thing with doctors, right? So the ones who got into it, who are like not into fitness, period.
Mm-hmm.
You have an influx of money now, right? So you're making an excessive amount of money. So you have access to different things. Then also your hours are crazy. So it depends on the type of doctor, right? So if you're like an ER physician, you
Right.
can stretch them out, right? But if you're just a regular physician where you're working 9 to 5, you can work out. But now you're just comfortable because you're probably working on building a family.
Mm-hmm.
But those doctors, believe it or not, although they're at the top of the chain when it comes to like health, not health and wellness, just health,
Right.
Really know much about the body. So if I go in with like a knee issue, like they're automatically talking about tendonitis, but I'm like, okay, but it could be muscular. It could be something with my hips. It could be something with my back. So I've noticed that there's definitely a disconnect between like their knowledge and being able to apply it for real.
Yeah, that's real right there. It might sound crazy, but man, like you really hit the nail on the head right there when you said there's a disconnect with that wellness part of it, because yeah, they're quick to, not all doctors. I definitely don't want to generalize, or because my wife is a physician, so I definitely don't want to put her in the box either. But no, there definitely is some kind of disconnect there. And then when you mentioned the teachers, I'm a teacher also by day, so I put on a few quarantine pounds and a few teaching pounds, as they say. The education 15 is what we'll call it. So tell me about your time in education.
Okay. When I graduated college in 2008, I actually landed my first teaching gig that same year, maybe like 2 months later in August, and I was a PE teacher at a charter school. Then I got laid off because of budget cuts, and then that's when I got into personal training.
Mm-hmm.
So then I circled back to education after I finished my travels and everything, and I went to this charter school in LA called KIPP Academy of Opportunity, and I started as a long-term substitute teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed a science teacher, and I'm like, the one thing about me is like, if I like a subject, I'm gonna be good at teaching it. And growing up in education, I growing up into my studies, I really enjoyed science.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll teach that. So during the day I would teach, at night I would teach myself.
Right.
So
Right.
they really enjoyed me. The kids enjoyed me. They took to me because at that time they had been going through teachers like this. Like the kids were like running them out.
Typically your typical urban community, urban school.
The urban school. So you called it, yeah. And I remember my first day, it was something out of like remember Dangerous Minds when the Michelle Pfeiffer got in the class and they were just sitting on the desk like, I was like, oh, this. And so, I found the ringleader, picked them out, got them in check, and that was it.
Yeah.
So after that, I was a kid for a while. I went from science to humanities. From humanities, I went to, I created a course, health and wellness course for them. And every year I had to create a curriculum. So when I was a humanities teacher, I created the Black Lives Matter curriculum. And then when I was the health and wellness teacher, I created the health and wellness curriculum and just taught them how to just learn about their health because we didn't have that there at all.
Wow, that's great.
When I left education, I was really uncomfortable in that position. Like my principal at the time, we called them school leaders at KIP.
Mm-hmm.
But the principal at the time, she just wasn't. I don't know. There was just no real. I felt like they weren't hearing me.
Right.
And like I said, I was feeling the pull of personal training too, because I was only able to train after work, and I could only get in so many clients a week. So I just dove in, and I didn't even have like a real game plan. I didn't have a substantial savings or anything like that. But I'd been praying on it for at this time. It had been like the second year I was praying on it, and I was just like, it's time to go. It's time to move. So I did it, and I have not worked a 9 to 5 in 3 years, and
Dope.
after having the pandemic for the last 10, 11 months, and it's thank God for government assistance, but I still have been like my business has not failed. It's forced me to become creative.
Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting though,
Right.
to be that creative.
Right. Nah, I feel you on that. I definitely feel you on that, Heather. If feel free to say pass on this question. Charter schools versus public schools.
I can't answer because I've never worked at a public school, so I don't really know how they get down.
Cool.
I mean, I like the charter school because of what I know. So I went to a public school.
Okay.
But I went to school when, then went to school back in the time where like kids were afraid of their parents and afraid to get suspended, and suspended was actually a thing.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if I'll probably stick with the charter.
Okay. All right. My next question is, did you major in education?
I majored in kinesiology with a concentration in pedagogy. So, teaching physical education.
Right. Okay. Cool. Give me a marker here. So you mentioned teaching and your apples to apples. Tell me about your Los Angeles Fit Fest. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Los Angeles Fitness Festival. So basically what I wanted to do, I saw a fitness festival. It's like the Propel Fitness Festival, and I went to it, and I was sad when I saw it because I was like, damn, this is my idea. I've been thinking about this for years.
Right.
And I did it, but what I wanted to do was create a space where fitness was fun. And it is an actual like a lit event. You can go there. You can bring. I wanted it to be multi-generational, multi-ethnic. I wanted different types of fitness levels, like people who didn't work out at all. And I wanted people who did work out. Like I wanted everybody there. And I wanted performances. So I have like actual performances, live performances in a big old space. I just, at first I had an idea of having like, I just want like, 500 people there. And then I was like, no, I need to think a little bit bigger. And so in September of the year before last, September of 2019, I launched it, and I did it at this at LA Trade Tech College, and we had their whole quad. We had vendors from like different gyms. I had MLK Hospital. That was my actual first sponsor. So nice. MLK Hospital has a special place in my heart. They sponsored me. Nike sponsored us. Zevia sponsored us. One Nutrition, the bar company, Rose Water. We had so many amazing sponsors and people showed up. The attendance, though, for me wasn't where I wanted to be, because in the same way that I was working with this group, I'm not going to mention them, but the guy, I want to say 6 minutes away from 6 weeks out of the event, he like stopped communicating with me and all kind of stuff. Like, So my location, I didn't have a location, I didn't have anything. And we had originally intended to do it in Inglewood, and so he got a permit for us to use Market Street.
Right.
Gave that permit to somebody else to hold an event on the same day.
Wow.
And so that event ended up having like 1,000 people. Yeah. And so my event had not 1,000 people.
Right.
So that really hurt. It actually like almost broke me, but I'm like, this is such a great part of the testimony, because like I'm gonna look back at this, and when my fitness festival really picks up, like when it really blows up, this is gonna be a part of my testimony, because I definitely could have quit and just been like, no, F it, I'm not doing it. Like, because as he gave my permit and my venue to another event, Nike also was a part of that event. So Nike sponsored my gear and my clothes, but they actually sponsored this event.
Right.
So his name was on that. So I'm like, I can't compete with Nike.
Right.
So everybody was like, oh, I'm going to the Nike thing.
Right.
Yeah, so there was that, but it ended up being really well. Everyone who was there received it really well. They loved it. They loved the energy. They're like, we want this to be bigger and better next year. We're coming back. We love it. Thank you so much for having this. Like, this is amazing. But it was really good. Like, I'm really proud of it. It was a lot of work. I surprised myself at how capable I was of doing all the work to plan on that festival.
That's dope. That is so cool. My next thing I want to bring up is you're talking about finding your niche.
Yeah.
And you said you want to work with female athletes and how the cycle affects them. So,
yeah.
So tell me about that. Tell me why you wanted to do that.
Okay, so for me personally, being a female and being an athlete, I was a collegiate athlete. Growing up in all the teams that I played on, all the coaches are men. And so they trained us in a way that wasn't conducive to what the female body was going through. And so, as I got older, all of my female athlete friends who weren't into fitness or who didn't know how to work out, stopped.
Right.
So they're overweight, or they're all injured, or, whatever the case may be, but there's such a high prevalence of female athletes who just have a decline in health after sports because they don't really know what to do. And so I decided that I wanted to really tap into that, because it's such an important market. It's such an important market for all these female athletes coming up, that I want to make sure that, the longevity of their career, like, it's extended, but also the quality, right? So what I really want to do is get into high schools and educate the coaches on how to train their female athletes, and how to cycle the training plan to cater to their considerations, right? So with females, when we're all together, our cycles do link up. Right. We're all going to be on the same day, but it is going to be on the same time. Now, obviously, the coach can't make a practice like, okay, well, this person is on phase 1 of their period, so we're going to do that for them and that for them and that for them. No. But if you have a general idea, if you track these women's cycle, we keep them together close enough, you track their cycles, you're going to be able to cycle your workouts, your programs better, so that when your athletes leave you, they're not hating physical activity.
Gotcha.
They aren't hating what has been done to it. And so, I've developed for my personal clients menstrual cycle training implications for each phase. So all of my clients, my female clients who have regular periods,
right,
get one of these. I haven't tapped into the irregular period yet. I don't really know how to go about that. Definitely gonna need some MD help for that. But like the other stuff, I can find information and like plug it in and just use my own understanding through kinesiology about that. So yeah, that's definitely why I wanted to do it.
Cool. I'm gonna definitely keep following you and studying what you got, because I like, I coach, and then I also coach female athletes. So
yes,
just knowing can help them, or help me help them. So my next question is the female athlete triad. Tell me anything that you can about the female athlete triad.
So when we're talking about the female athlete triad, and I think the most important part too that I focus on out of that triad is the injury prevention piece, and I do that by focusing on the menstrual cycle. So with the female triad, like the first, I think three things are menstrual dysfunction, low energy availability, with or without eating disorder, and then decreased bone mineral density.
Right.
So when you're training with disregard to those things being a possibility, that's when they happen. And I think the most important thing to tackle is the menstrual dysfunction,
Right.
because that leads to a drop in your energy and to a drop in your bone mineral density. And so with that, for my clients who are in their, like, let's say you're in the menstruation phase of your cycle, which is the actual like menstruation part.
Right.
You have a different level of energy that
Right.
happens. Like, you have a lot of pain, obviously, because we're cramping and we're losing blood, and we feel like our energy is lower because your estrogen and your progesterone levels are kind of fluctuating. They're going high and low and whatever. But this actually, when you're on your period, is actually the best time for new skill acquisition, because your attention is at its highest.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, your energy is low, but your attention is at its highest. And so something like that is when you would teach somebody, or you would have somebody like max out on like their 1 rep max or something. That's when you would do that.
Got
What you wouldn't do is sharp directional movements, left and lateral movements, right? Like that. You can do a HIIT workout, high intensity, but it doesn't need to be sharp movements because of the lubrication or lack of lubrication in the joints. So I think, when we're talking about the menstrual dysfunction, I think when we're talking about the female triad, if we tap in on menstrual dysfunction, we'll be able to stop that triad, that circle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Definitely. I wrote a paper on it once, and this now, telling my age here, I graduated 2012 from undergrad, so it's been since before then, so at least approaching 10 years maybe. So I knew a little bit about it then and I had one source from one textbook. So but it always kind of like piqued my interest, but I feel like I'm not the person to dive deep into that. So what's that?
You're a coach?
Yes.
You're most certainly the person to dive into it.
Cool.
Most certainly. Especially if you're a coach who trains females.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know if it's a man thing, but men kind of stray away from talking about the female cycle.
Right.
And, this is just like a little pro tip for you. That's going to set you above your colleagues. That's going to set you above other men in your industry, is if you tap in to the female triad, right? So how can you Coach P,
right.
And how can you address the female athlete triad so that your athletes don't fall into any of those categories?
Yeah, no, that's facts. I never even thought about that like that. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna write that down and then keep going with it.
Yeah, I mean, you wrote a paper about it. Go back.
Yeah. No, I definitely still have it too. It's somewhere on one of these files I got. I can easily pull it up. Yeah, definitely. I can definitely send it to you too. So chat me up. What organization are you certified through?
NASM.
Okay.
Academy of Sports Medicine. I have my certified personal trainer and performance enhancement specialist. I have a bunch of different certifications to teach specialty classes.
Right.
Schwinn to teach cycle. Have Power Spin to teach cycle. I have TRX to teach functional training.
Right.
What else do I have? I have Les Mills to teach a core class. And obviously CPR, AED, all that stuff.
Right.
I think that's all. I think that's it. Yeah. That's all I can think of right now.
Okay.
I do want to get so the one thing that I would love to tackle more is the nutrition. And just get a nutrition cert, because one of the things that I hear myself saying a lot, and I am just now not liking it coming out of my mouth.
Right.
I am not, certified to give you nutrition advice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like 10 years in the game. You should be able to give nutritional advice. And this is just me talking to myself.
Right.
I've never been interested in nutrition
Right.
like that, but I just know because for me it comes easier.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to make sure that, you know, if I'm trying to grow in this profession, if I'm trying to grow in this business, and if I'm trying to, you know, not have to be in front of my clients 24/7, I got to do the things that's going to set me apart as well. Like I just gave you advice.
Right.
Self, son, and go take your nutritional certification. And not to be like a nutritionist, but just to be able to say with confidence, these are the things that you should be consuming.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha. No, that makes plenty of sense. Definitely makes plenty of sense. How was Canada? You mentioned you lived in Canada for a little bit, so how was that?
Okay, so Canada was cold. When I first got there, I lived on a farm in a shed.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would commute to this place called Surrey, which is kind of on the border of America and Washington or whatever the state is that's the closest to it.
Right.
And that's where Innovative Fitness was.
Got
And
it.
so I got that job, and I drove into Canada with like my bags, and they gave me 3 weeks. They were like, "Hey, you can only stay here for 3 weeks. I see that you've been applying to jobs. It looks like you're trying to work here and live here illegally. Get up out of our country. You can't stay here like that." They had me on the border for like 3 hours. Like I was sweating bullets, and it was cold. So they found like an email, because I was emailing people, because I'm like, obviously when I get here I need to work, but I didn't know that I didn't know they were gonna act like that.
Right.
So they basically said, "Nah, you can only stay for 3 weeks, and if you stay after 3 weeks and we find you, you can't come back."
Wow.
Right. So when I got there, so you want to talk about a hustle? As soon as I got there, I'm like, okay, I got to make sure I have Wi-Fi, okay, in this little shed, and I got to find a job. And so I found Innovative Fitness, and the guy, Curtis Christopherson, he paid for he sponsored me to be there. He got me a letter of like intent of employment. And so I was getting like all of my stuff like together to like stay there and work for at least a year. But then I don't know, I wanted to go home for Christmas. And I was starting to feel a little homesick. But I knew that once I left for Christmas, I would not be able to come back into the country, you know? And so, I mean, I had hopes that I'd be able to come back in, but I kind of figured I wouldn't. When I got back to America and the sun hit me, I was like, whoa, I was sad in Canada. And I didn't realize it. It's like, because I thought everybody was so nice. I mean, I smiled every day. I was, I was pretty much happy. So I thought, but there's no real sun in Canada. It's like Seattle. There's like mad fog everywhere, and that LA sun hit me, and I was just like, guess I'm not going back.
So you were on the western part of Canada?
Yeah, Vancouver.
Gotcha.
From Cali to Vancouver, with my friend who I met while I worked on a cruise ship. So we ended up moving to Canada together, and she ended up staying there for after I didn't come back, she was like, "Well, I don't want to stay here by myself."
Right.
So she ended up going back to Spain, and yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy.
I couldn't get back into the country. I want to see if I could get back in now, since it's been a few years.
Right.
Hopefully they forgot.
I didn't know Canada was that hardcore on visitors, man. That's crazy.
They did the same thing, so I couldn't get back in there. So my mom drove up to get did she drive up? Yeah, she drove up with her one of our friends, and to get my car, because my car was out.
Right.
And they did the same thing to her. She was like, "Listen here, okay? I'm a nurse. I ain't even trying to be here for too long. I'm just trying to get my daughter's stuff. Let me in so I can get the heck up out of here. All right."
Dang.
They were trying to press her the same way.
Wow. All right. So before I get you up out of here, Heather, drop any and every social media website and how my listeners can find you.
Okay, so you guys can find me on Instagram. I am Trainer Heather on Instagram. On Facebook, I am Trainer Heather Fitness. On Twitter, I am Trainer Heather 1, but I don't really use Twitter. On the Clubhouse, I am also Trainer Heather. My website is www.empiretrainingacademy.com, so you can find all information about me, about the fitness festival. If you want to donate, become a donor for the festival, you can do that. My Apples to Apples Foundation is a 501c3. Hallelujah, I got approved.
Hey.
So that's where I'll be collecting donations. You can book me from EmpireTrainingAcademy.com as well. I offer online, virtual, and in-person training, but I'm really trying to launch my online platform so that I can reach more people, touch more lives, and a lot more quickly. So, yeah.
Cool.
Stay tuned because I am saying this right now in 2021. I am going to create an app that is specifically for training females through the phases of their cycle. So stay tuned for that. It's going to happen. Like, it will happen. I'm not playing any games this year. It's going to happen.
Bet that up. Hey, Heather, we appreciate you coming on. This has been another episode for the health of it. I'm your host, Corey K. Patrick.